Good morning, class. Sorry the YouTube video was slow getting to you today. Had some issues with getting it uploaded to the internet, but I'm hoping that I've got that solved. We had been doing lesson 41 in our course 2 notebook, and when I first made the video, I asked you to go back to your notebook. This is page 117, and let's add some stuff at the bottom down there. Because we discovered when we did the assignment that our distributive property also is not only just over addition, multiplication over addition, but also works over subtraction. So if you look at the video and look up here on the screen, this is what I've added to my notebook, and you need to go ahead and pause the video and get this added in too after I finish talking here. We learned up here, this is what was in your notes already, that the distributive property works over addition, multiplication over addition, and we simplified that. But I want you to add that it also works over subtraction. And this was one of the problems, it was problem D for lesson 41. So here we have 6 times 20 minus 6 times 5. And if we work this, 6 times 20 is 120, 6 times 5 is 30. We do the subtraction, we come out with 90. So note to self that the distributive property works for subtraction. All right, and that's all you need to have in your notes today, or add to them. Please be sure that you have filled in your table of contents for lesson 41. Oh, look, I haven't done it yet. Lesson 41, so that begins on page, where did I start lesson 41? I started lesson 41 on page 116. And it is lesson 41, using formulas. And it's also distributive property. Okay, good job. All right, so what we were going to talk about today on this YouTube video is the answers to lesson 41 questions. And when I made the video the first time, I did the work. So now all you have to do is look to see if your answers match. And I'll try to talk us through it again as I do this. So make sure you're using your red pen and that you're recording any changes that you make, so that if you don't have exactly what I have, please make the changes in red. I'm not exactly sure yet how we're going to be turning assignments in, whether I'm going to ask you to find somebody's cell phone and snap a picture of it, or if I'll have you just, I don't know, save up a bunch of them, like 5 lessons or so, and now that we've learned how to put things in an envelope and mail it, we'll see. I don't know, but just hang on to your assignments for now. So you were supposed to do the evens. Number 2 says in the first 5 games, the local basketball team scored. So I'm writing down the given, which you're supposed to write down. The given is that there were 5 games and then the scores for each of those 5 games. They ask you to find the average score for the 5 games, which means you're going to have to add them all up. And you'll notice that I grouped things by tens. They made it really nice and easy for you, and then added the 5 in. So 10, 20, 25, carry the 2. Here was also a 10 plus 1 plus 2, and then adding it up. So there was a total of 535 points. Now to find the average, though, we need to do the division by 5. So the average of those scores, and you can see I put my division work here, the average of the scores is 107 points. So again, we have the given, we have our scratch work off to the side, we have the equation for doing an average, the total points divided by the number of games, and then the answer. So hopefully you have all of that on your paper. It really should be there, even though we're doing this class online right now. All of that should be there. Problem number 4 asked you to name the property that was demonstrated. So what are the givens? The given is actually writing down the algebraic formula or the equation that they have. Notice that just the parentheses has changed on this first one. Just the parentheses has changed. So that means all these are in order still. That would be the associative property of addition. In letter B, the parentheses changed again. The letters are in the same order. So that's the associative property also, but this time over multiplication. In letter C, they have given you a good example of the distributive property algebraically written. So this is the distributive property of multiplication, and you'll notice that it's over addition. Multiplication over addition. Question number 6. It says about 70% of the Earth's surface is water, and what fraction of the Earth's surface is land? So the given 70% water. What fraction? You'll see I put an F to remind myself that I need a fraction. What fraction is land? And did I put a fraction? Of course not. So it's a good thing I'm remaking this video. I didn't put a fraction. How would we turn 30% into a fraction? 30% is really 30, and the two little balls there, the little circles, over 100, isn't it? And if you reduce that, we wind up with 3 over 10. So can this be reduced any further? Well, 3 is prime, and 3 does not go into 10. So the fraction you should have there, Mrs. Rutherford, is 3 over 10. 3 over 10 is the fraction. Good thing I looked at my paper again before I turned it in. How about you? And part B says, what is the ratio of water to land? So remember when we're doing ratios, they're actually written as fractions, but we have to do it in the exact order that they ask for, or our answer will be wrong. We might have the right numbers, but the answer would be wrong. Water to land, it was 70% to 30%, divide both top and bottom by 10. Our ratio is 7 to 3. 70 to 30, which can be written 7 to 3, 7:3. In this case, the ratio 7 to 3 is fine. If you have 3 to 7 or 3 to 7, that would be wrong. You got them in the wrong order. Ratios are always written in the order that they ask. All right, I'm flipping my paper over for that stem and leaf project for number 7. I took the time in my given to write it all down. Now, I don't expect you to have written the whole chart down for your stem and leaf unless they give you random information that you do have to organize as a stem leaf chart. If they give you the stem leaf chart, you don't have to write it down. Notice it has a title that it's stem and leaf. I have labeled what these represent, and I have counted up how many total members. Here's a little tidbit. If it's an even number of entries here, you are going to find that your quartiles fall between two numbers. And if that's the case, as we're going to see here, and not here and here, but here in our third quartile, you will have to find an average. Keep that in mind. All right. So the first thing they wanted was the median. So that means I counted from 20 members, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Notice I counted in order down the rows to get to that one. But when I'm counting from the back side, I'm counting this direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this one, and what comes between 30 and 30? Nothing, just 30. So my median is 30 what? 30 stamps. If you didn't label it, write it in red right now, okay? Don't have to mark it wrong, but get that label there. All right, what's our first quartile? Well, half of 20 is 10, and half of 10 is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we count back from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's halfway between 6 and 6? Well, duh, it's 6. But it's not 6, it's 26, right? So the first quartile is 26 stamps. Third quartile, count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 33 and 35. What's halfway between 33 and 35? You got it. 34. 34 stamps. All right. Are there any outliers? Well, to really determine the outliers the best way, you really should go ahead with number 8 and make that box and whiskers chart. Box and whiskers chart. Now, what I decided to do was 11 is my lowest and 40 is my highest. So I'm going to go up by tens. I make a little bit of a number line. I make 10 and 50 actually. And then I divide it evenly. So I've got 20, 30, 40, and there's my 50. Well, there was nothing above 40. I made the number line. I even made my little 5 marks in here because I knew I was going to need them. Here's 10, so I put my 11 there. Here's 40, it's there. What's my first quartile? 26, so here's 25, 26. What's my third quartile? 34, here's 35, so there's 34. What's my median? Median is right there at 30. So I make my little box, which isn't really a really good box, but it's there. And I can see, if I were to label all these things, everything is way up to the between 25 and 35, which is a long ways away from 11, isn't it? And the next one up from 11 is 22. So here's 11, here's the 22, and there's nothing there. Whereas here's 40, and the next one down from 40 is actually 39 and 37 and 36 and 35. So there's a lot of little points right in here, but nothing between 22 and 11. So that means the outlier, in other words, the cheese stands alone, the cheese stands alone, hi-ho the dairy-o. Anyway, an outlier is one that's standing apart from everything else, standing alone. I bet you don't even know that song, do you? Boy, that's a flashback from my childhood. The outlier is 11 stamps. In other words, the person who has 11 stamps obviously hasn't really been collecting stamps. There may be one of the people who's deciding whether they really want to be a stamp collector or not, or they just joined and are just getting started and need encouragement. Okay, moving on to number 10. Number 10 says, name the point marked on that, and you can just look. You do not need to draw the chart if they have it there for you. If you count up, I'll just get my little book right here for you so you can see what I'm looking at, and maybe I can figure out my zoom again here. Yeah, zoom, zoom, zoom around the room. Okay, we see 3.0 and 4.0, and if you count the little things in between, there are 10. So it's 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and you can see the answer key says 3.6. We turn that into a mixed number. Well, 6 over 10, oops, zoom out. Did I do that for you? I didn't. 3 and 6/10. If we take our 6/10, we can reduce it by how much on top and bottom? 2 and 2. So that becomes 3/5. So our mixed number is 3 and 3/5, and our decimal number is 3 and 6/10. So there you have your 2 answers for that. All right, moving on to number 12. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more here, guys. Sorry, as I'm learning how to be a videographer, and I know this is lame, but I did change the background for you today, so it's not so gray and white, huh? Everything was gray and black on that first video. Eek. All right, this is number 12. We're almost done. Dimensions of a triangle. I did draw the triangle, and I think that's a good idea for you as well. If you turn this triangle this direction so that you have your right angle and this dotted line that they gave you, this will be your base, because we always count the base from the perpendicular to the height. Wherever there's the right angle, that's going to be the base. So this is our base, and this then, the 12, becomes our height for the triangle. They gave us 14, 13 millimeters, 15 millimeters, and our altitude or height of 12. The first thing they want is a perimeter, so I write the formula. This lesson was about formulas. The perimeter is, in a triangle, side plus side plus side. Now, all the sides are not the same, so it's actually A plus B plus C. It's actually 3 different sides, okay? Side 13, 15, 14, we add those all up. You're going to be using your associative property, and you can decide which ones you want to add up first, but we wind up with 30 plus 12, which comes out to be 42 millimeters is the perimeter of this triangle. Okay? And now the area of a triangle is, again, algebraic formula. Half base times height. I know you may have learned base height divided by 2, and that's valid. But you're going to find in algebra we tend to work more with these type of fractions and these type of formulas. So really, really memorize this formula. Half of the base, which is 14, and the height, which in this case is 12. Remember, it's off of the right angle, 12 millimeters. Now, because everything is multiplication, we can choose to do the associative property of multiplication here, or even adding the commutative in. I can take these two and do half of 14, or I can do a little switcheroo with the commutative property and do half of 12 and then multiply to 14, or I could even do this associative property, 14 times 12, and then divide the whole thing in half. Well, truly, I don't want to have to do 12 times 14 and come up with a number that's bigger than 144 and then try to divide it in half. I'm just going to simply divide half of 14, which makes 7, and then 7 times 12 gives me 84. This is area, so we're doing millimeters times millimeters, and millimeters times millimeters is millimeters squared. So that's number 12. Make any corrections? Pause the video if you need to before going on. And here's your last problem that you were assigned on Tuesday. Here's your last problem. I had somebody, some sweet little lady, ask me a question about number 14. Mrs. Rutherford, you didn't tell us how to do this in the notes. You're right, I didn't. That's because I wanted you to try to figure it out. It is a formula. 2 pi r. Now this is a symbol for pi, which is 3.14. They told you that that's what they want you to use. And the r, which by the way, this has to do with circles. Anytime we're dealing with pi, we're dealing with circles. So r will always stand for the radius. So you don't need to worry about that right now. But just know that if I said 2 banana apple, well, you'd have a banana as a symbol and an apple as a symbol. And if I told you the banana was 3.14 and the apple was 10, you could plug it in and work it. So these are nothing more than symbols for something else that we're going to be learning about later. So for the pi, you fill in 3.14. For the r, you fill in 10. And then you get to decide whether you're going to take 3.14 times 2, 3.14 times 2 times 10, which is 20, or 3.14 times the 10, and then multiply by the 2. Whatever way you decided to do, this formula, when you use these variable values, is evaluated at 62.8. And there is no other label because they didn't tell you whether this is in millimeters, units, or whether it's in feet or whatever. So that's it. So all right, guys, I hope you made your corrections on your math assignment. I hope you've got it all labeled. Notice I had to label my second page there. This is page 2. And we've got it locked in our binder with the corrections done. You can send me a quick little text message or whatever you want to about how you did, but that's not necessary. And tomorrow is our Zoom meeting for this. You can tell me that. Be sure to write your assignment in your student planner. For today, if you go back to FACS and check the homework section, you will see that we're continuing on this assignment. And look, I've got lots of paper left here, so I'm going to start with number 16 right here and move right on to number 30. And so that's the assignment for today. I'm hoping you'll check back and find this. Love you guys. Take care. You can do this. See you later.